There's something about a child's voice in the dark that doesn't sit right. Maybe it's the innocence wrapped in something off, something misplaced. That's what I felt the first night my son spoke to something I couldn't see. It happened a few years ago. He was only 4 years old then, sweet, stubborn, imaginative, always talking about cartoons, bugs, and cookies. He liked to sleep in my bed sometimes, especially when he was restless. That night was one of those. It was late, past midnight. The house was quiet, except for the soft hum of the ceiling fan and the occasional creak of the wood settling. We were lying in bed, and he was doing the usual little kid thing, fidgeting, mumbling nonsense, rolling from one end of the mattress to the other. Before we continue, if you're new here, welcome to Clara After Dark. This is where the strange and unsettling find a voice. If stories about eerie whispers in the night and things that shouldn't be there keep you up like they do me, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves a good scare. Your support helps me bring more stories into the shadows. Anyway, my son suddenly stopped moving, just like that. Stillness, as if a switch flipped. I was lying there with my eyes closed, pretending to be asleep, thinking he had finally given in. But then, I felt it. The mattress shifted. He sat up. That's when I heard him. "What did you say?" His voice was calm, curious. "What?" Pause. "I'm trying to go to bed." Another pause. I could feel my heartbeat picking up, but I stayed still. He wasn't talking to me. I hadn't said a word. "You go get it. It's downstairs." That way, then silence, followed by an annoyed little grunt. "No, I'm trying to sleep. You go downstairs." And then, "What? Ugh, I can't hear you. Come here." I opened my eyes. My son was sitting upright, staring into the dark corner of the room near the closet. There was nothing there, just a stack of laundry and a nightstand. But the way he was focused made my skin crawl. I didn't even think. I jumped out of bed and flipped the light on. He blinked at the brightness.com as ever. Me, I was trying not to lose it. "Buddy," I said, "who are you talking to?" He turned to the same corner he'd been facing and pointed. "Over there," he said. I stared, expecting to see something, anything, but there was nothing, just air. "Baby," I said gently, "I can't see who it is. Can you tell me? Was it a boy? A girl?" He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Monster." My stomach dropped. I froze. For a moment, I couldn't say anything, couldn't move. It was like the air in the room thickened, got heavier. I tried to push it aside. I'd had my own experiences when I was younger, things I still don't talk about, but hearing that word from my child's mouth, so casually, like it was a name he recognized, it hit me hard. I swallowed and crouched beside him. "Do you want the monster to leave you alone?" I asked softly. He nodded. "Yeah." So I told him, "Let's tell it to go away, okay? Just like this. Say, 'You're not welcome here. Go away.'" He nodded again and repeated after me, "You're not welcome here. Go away." Then, on his own, he added, "Yeah, leave me alone." It was quiet after that. Unnervingly quiet. He laid back down, and within minutes, he was fast asleep, breathing steady, peaceful. Me, I didn't sleep the rest of the night. After that night, I tried to convince myself it was just a fluke. Maybe he had a weird dream. Maybe it was a mix of imagination and sleep deprivation. 4-year-olds say strange things all the time. But deep down, I knew better. That feeling didn't go away. The thick air, the way he said monster like he knew it. Not scared, not unsure, just factual, like he'd seen it before. For a while, things were quiet. A week, maybe 2. Then it happened again. This time, It was during the day. We were in the living room. I was folding laundry on the couch, while he was sitting, cross-legged on the floor, drawing something on a piece of printer paper. I remember glancing over, just watching him, wondering if he would ever talk about that night again. And then I saw it. He tilted his head, just slightly, like someone was whispering into his ear. Then he said, "Not right now. Mommy's here." I paused, laundry half folded. I didn't want to scare him, but I asked, "Who's not right now, sweetheart?" He didn't even look up. "The man." "What man?" I said as calmly as I could. "The tall one. He wants to play hide and seek." I stood up slowly. "Where is he?" He pointed to the hallway. I walked over, heart thudding in my chest. I looked down the hallway. It was empty, just a narrow stretch of carpet leading to the bedrooms and bathroom. But even with the sunlight coming in from the windows, the hallway felt wrong, like the shadows were too still. I turned back to him. "Is he still there?" He nodded, then shrugged. "He left. He doesn't like the sun." I didn't know what to say. I tried to smile. "Okay, well, if he comes back, you let me know, all right?" He nodded again and went back to coloring. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It didn't feel like make-believe. It wasn't the way he said it. It was the timing, the way he paused, the way he acted like this was all normal, like the tall man wasn't new. A few days later, it happened again. This time, I was in the kitchen. I heard him in the hallway, mumbling. I crept over and leaned against the wall, listening. I know, I probably should have just walked in and asked him directly, but I needed to hear it. I needed to understand what was going on. He was standing in front of the hallway mirror, just staring. Then I heard him whisper, "No, Mommy doesn't like you." Silence. Then he said, "Because you make her scared." I stepped into the hallway and said his name. He turned to look at me, blinking like he didn't even realize I was there. "Who were you talking to?" I asked. He hesitated. Then he pointed to the mirror. I looked, but all I saw was our reflection. I crouched beside him and said, "Is that the monster again?" He shook his head. "No, the other one. The tall man." He nodded. "He lives in the mirror now." I tried to stay calm, but everything in my body told me something wasn't right. The way he said it, the way he believed it without question. That night, I covered every mirror in the house with a towel. Every single one, just in case. I thought the mirrors would help. I thought maybe it was just a phase. Kids get ideas in their heads, especially at that age. A few stories, a scary cartoon, too much imagination. That's what I told myself, over and over. But the towels didn't stop the whispers. They just changed where they came from. It started with the hallway closet. It's not even a big space, just a shallow coat closet near the front door. There's nothing in there but a few jackets, a flashlight, and an old box of shoes. Nothing that should make a sound. But one evening, I heard him standing in front of it. I was in the living room again, folding laundry, same as before. I thought he was watching his tablet on the couch, but when I looked up, he was gone. I found him in the hallway, standing still, facing the closet door. He wasn't moving. He wasn't talking. At first, I thought he was listening to something. Maybe he heard a sound inside. Maybe a mouse or something had gotten in. But then he said, softly, "It's locked. You're not allowed." I stopped in my tracks. He was whispering to the door. "No." Mommy said no. "You can't come out." I stepped closer. "Baby, who are you talking to?" He turned slowly and looked at me. The boy in the closet. I felt the chill go down my spine. That familiar grip in the chest. That cold pressure in the room that didn't belong. "There's no boy in there," I said. He didn't argue. He just nodded, like he knew that's what I needed to hear. Then he said he's not allowed to talk when the lights are on. That night, I kept the hallway light on until morning. The next few days were strange. He stopped talking about the monster, the tall man, or the boy in the closet. Instead, he started drawing them. At first, I thought they were just scribbles, circles, shapes, stick figures. But then I started seeing patterns. He'd draw the same tall figure over and over. Long arms, no face. Sometimes the same figure would have dark scribbles around its head, like smoke or shadows. One picture had a closet door with red eyes peeking out from inside. I tried to ask him about it. "Who is this?" I said, pointing at the tallest one. He shrugged. "He's everywhere." "What about the eyes in the closet?" He frowned. "That's the boy. He doesn't like the light." I didn't know what to say anymore. Part of me wanted to take him to a child psychologist. Another part of me was too scared to admit that maybe he wasn't imagining anything. Maybe he was seeing something I couldn't. One night, just before bed, he stopped at the closet and whispered, "Not tonight. She's tired." I didn't ask him what he meant. I just closed the door. Then I locked it and moved a chair in front of it. Nothing came out. Nothing knocked. But I didn't sleep. Neither did he. He just stared at the ceiling for hours, quiet, like he was waiting for something. After that night, the fear settled in deeper than ever. It wasn't just his words anymore. It was his silence, the way his eyes would glaze over, like he was somewhere else entirely, awake, but not really present. I tried everything. Night lights, leaving the door open, closing it tight, talking to him before bed, asking if he was scared. He would always say no. But then he'd whisper things I couldn't understand, tiny phrases, almost like a language only he knew. One night, I sat on his bed after I tucked him in. The room was dim, only the glow from the hallway creeping in. I asked him to tell me everything about the monster, and the tall man and the boy in the closet. He looked at me, serious, like he was about to share a secret no adult should hear. "They're waiting," he said. "For what?" I asked. "For her," he whispered. My heart stopped. "For who?" I said, voice barely above a breath. He pointed toward my bedroom door. "Mommy," he said. I wanted to laugh it off, say it was nonsense, but the look in his eyes froze me. I told him, "They can't hurt you. They can't hurt me." He nodded slowly, but didn't look convinced. That night, I slept with the door locked and every light in the house on. At 3 a.m., I woke up to the sound of soft footsteps outside my door. I held my breath. The footsteps stopped. Then I heard a whisper, so faint I thought I imagined it. But then I heard it again, my son's voice, barely a whisper, "Not yet." I got up, heart racing, and cracked the door open. The hallway was empty. I called out his name. No answer. I checked every room. He wasn't there. Panic took over. I ran outside to the porch. There he was, sitting on the steps, staring into the dark yard. "Why didn't you answer me?" I said, trying to keep calm. He looked up slowly. "They're watching." I didn't know what to do. I held him close. And in that moment, I knew this was only the beginning. After that night on the porch, everything changed. My son became quieter, more withdrawn. He would sit by the windows for hours, staring out into the dark like he was waiting for someone or something. Sometimes, he'd whisper to himself, talking about watching eyes and shadows moving. I tried to catch a glimpse of what he saw, but there was never anything there. Just the usual neighborhood empty streets, parked cars, the faint glow of street lamps. But for him, it was different. He said the eyes were everywhere, in the bushes, behind trees, watching from the sky. One evening, I asked him to tell me more. He looked up, his small face serious. "They watch, but they don't come." "Why not?" I asked. He shrugged. "They're waiting for something else." I was starting to realize this wasn't just a child's imagination. These things, whatever they were, seemed to exist in a world layered just beneath ours. A shadow world, always watching, waiting. At night, I started hearing noises. Soft footsteps on the porch, whispering voices just beyond the walls, doors creaking open and closing by themselves. My son didn't seem afraid anymore. If anything, he was resigned. Like he accepted these visitors as part of life. One night, I caught him talking to someone in the dark corner of the living room. "Not now," he said softly. "Come back later," he added. I watched him, heart pounding, unable to intervene. Who was he talking to? And why did it feel like he was negotiating with something powerful? I reached out and touched his shoulder. He turned to me, eyes wide but calm. "They're patient," he said. "They wait for the right moment. The right moment for what I didn't want to know." Days passed and the atmosphere in our home grew heavier. It wasn't just the whispers anymore. It was the feeling, a presence that lingered just out of sight. Like a shadow you catch from the corner of your eye, but vanish when you try to focus. My son's behavior became more peculiar. He stopped talking about the tall man or the boy in the closet. Instead, he would sometimes freeze me, his eyes fixed on empty corners, following movements no one else could see. One afternoon, while playing in the living room, he suddenly stopped and pointed to the far corner near the ceiling. "Look," he said quietly. I glanced up but saw nothing unusual, just the pale wall and the soft light filtering in. "See who?" I asked. "The one who watches." He squinted as if trying to make out a shape. I felt a chill. "Can you see him?" I pressed gently. He nodded slowly. "But he's hiding." That night, I tried to sleep but couldn't shake the unease. Every creak and groan of the house felt amplified. I lay awake imagining the invisible watcher lurking just beyond my vision. The next morning, my son drew something again. This time, it was different. The figures were darker, more detailed. The tall man now had long, twisted arms reaching down like tendrils. The boy in the closet had hollow eyes. And the watcher was there too, lurking in the shadows, faceless but ominous. I asked him what it meant. "They never leave," he said softly. "They watch, waiting for her." I felt tears prick at my eyes. For the first time, I understood. This wasn't just about protecting my son. It was about protecting myself, because they were waiting for me. I started paying attention to every detail after that. Every creak, every shadow, every whisper. I realized the presence wasn't just watching my son. It was watching me too, waiting for me to notice, waiting for me to react. One evening, I was sitting in the kitchen when my son came up to me quietly, holding one of his drawings. The figure was more defined now, tall, looming, with long arms that seemed to reach out beyond the paper. He looked up at me with those wide, serious eyes and said, "Mommy, they don't like it when I talk about them." "Who doesn't?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "The watchers," he said. "They get angry." I felt a chill run through my body. Later that night, I heard it. The knocking, soft but deliberate, like someone tapping on the window. I checked, but there was nothing there, just the cold wind outside. The next morning, I found more drawings scattered on the floor. The figures had multiplied. The watcher was there in every picture, looming over my son, over me. I knew then this wasn't just about fear or imagination. This was a warning. Something was coming. Something I couldn't see but could feel creeping closer. I started researching, looking into legends, old stories about watchers and spirits that follow families, waiting for the right moment to cross over. I wasn't sure if I believed any of it, but my son's words, his drawings, the feeling in the house, they were all telling me the same thing. We were not alone, and we were not safe. The nights grew longer and heavier. Sleep became a stranger to both of us. My son would wake up suddenly, eyes wide, whispering about shadows moving in the corners. He told me they were watching, waiting for me to notice. One night, I woke to a cold breeze brushing my face. The bedroom window was shut tight, but the curtains fluttered softly, like a quiet sigh. I sat up, heart pounding, and saw a faint silhouette standing just beyond the bedroom door. I blinked, and it was gone. I told myself it was just my imagination, but my son's whispered warnings echoed in my mind. They come closer when the door is open. The next morning, I found a new drawing on the kitchen table. It was the tall figure again, but this time, it was reaching through an open door. I realized then that the presence wasn't bound by walls or locks. It moved when invited, or when the chance came. I started keeping every door closed and locked, but sometimes I would find them open the next morning. My son never complained about it. Instead, he'd say, "They're just checking." One night, I asked him, "Why are they here? What do they want?" He looked at me, eyes filled with something I couldn't understand. "They're waiting for her," he said softly. The tension in the house was unbearable. Every creak felt like a warning. Every shadow seemed to move just beyond my vision. My son's drawings became darker, more detailed, as if capturing something that was creeping closer each day. One night, I woke to the sound of whispering voices. They weren't coming from outside, but from inside the walls. I could feel the house itself breathing, alive with something unseen. I found my son standing in the hallway, eyes wide and frozen in fear. He pointed to the far end of the hall and whispered, "She's here." My heart stopped. "Who's here?" I asked, voice trembling. "The Watcher. She's finally come." I tried to calm him, but he wouldn't stop staring. Then the lights flickered. The air grew cold. I felt a presence in the room, close and heavy. I reached out to hold my son, but he pulled away. "She's watching me," he said. The fear was no longer just mine, it was ours. And I knew the nightmare was far from over. The house felt different after that night. The air was thicker, heavier, as if something unseen was pressing down on us. My son's fear had turned into quiet dread. He barely spoke about the Watchers anymore. Instead, he stared into the darkness, waiting. One evening, I found him standing by the closet door, the one where it all began. His small hand hovered just inches from the handle. "Do you want to open it?" I asked gently. He looked at me with eyes that seemed too old for his age. "No," he whispered, "not yet. She's there." I realized then that whatever she was, it wasn't just watching anymore. She was waiting for a chance. That night, I stayed up, watching my son sleep. The shadows in the room seemed to shift and move, alive and watching. I prayed for protection, for safety, for a way out. Days later, my son told me something that chilled me to the core. "They don't want me, they want you." I didn't know what that meant, but deep down, I feared the worst. Our lives had been changed forever by what he sent what followed him home. If you want to hear more stories like this, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Clara After Dark. Your support helps keep these stories alive, and I'd love to hear your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Stay safe, and remember, sometimes the things we don't see are the ones we should fear most.